So you're not gonna answer her question?
Yes and no.
It's
I,
okay.
I did get
If
the
somebody else can, I
Hey,
just
Okay,
want
so
to know.
let me kind of give you the
I'm
I'll
about to
help
say
you
I can
out.
tell you
I,
what
I,
I
no, no, no.
Right, I just
Well,
Googled
listen,
it.
listen. We're not gonna look up nothing. We ain't got to do any of that.
Enrique told
We
me.
we could just get straight to it. So some of the main okay, so it's two different ways that the vice president operates. The first way is her official power, and the second way is her kind of informal power, right? The first way, when you're talking about her official power, is she's the president of the Senate, right? So whenever you have a deadlock, especially when they're voting on legislation, she's a tie-breaking vote. So for Kamala Harris in particular, when we talked about the inflation and the infrastructure deal and all of that stuff, and when they were deadlocked inside of our legislative branches, she was the tie-breaking vote that then determined what happened to push legislation through or to pull it back that ultimately landed on Biden's desk. Okay, that's the number one thing. The number two thing, if you go back to like Pence, for example, and remember when they were having a lot of back and forth on the 2020 election, and they were trying to figure out, or they were battling about whether or not the election was stolen or not. The vice president is the one that actually certifies the votes when it comes to who wins the elections. So one of the reasons why it was so much back and forth between the president and or the incumbent and whether or not Trump lost or not is because Mike Pence was the one that actually certified the vote. So those are some of the formal powers of the vice president of the United States of America. Informally, though, they then basically serve as a figurehead and their delegated responsibility from the president of the United States of America because he can't be in all places at one time. So, for example, that's why they say she was the border czar, because one of the first things that Biden tasked her with was to solve for the issues that was happening at the border, because Biden himself said that when he won president, he would never, ever, ever build another inch of border wall. And then the border started to be open. So he anointed her as the border czar to solve for the fundamental problems as to why the border or why migrants was coming into the border as a result of it, which is why people hang that on her head and say you never solved for the problems and you never got the resolution to it, because unofficially, she was the border czar. And then when you see her say things like when she was on The View and she said, listen, I was in the room for every single decision that was made that was important to the United States of America, including the infrastructure bill, including the tax act, including all of this other stuff, right? Then that's when they say, okay, well, if you were in the room and you were the one that was helping to make the decisions, and you were officially and unofficially the tie-breaking vote for a lot of the things that was pushed through in legislation, that means that you then became responsible for whether or not it was or it wasn't.
Right.
And those are the official and unofficial duties of the vice president of the United States of America. Okay.
So her biggest failure, what I'm hearing, because I'm not politically knowledgeable about a lot of shit, but her biggest failure is basically the wall.
No, she was tasked with a lot of different things. Again, she cast some of the tie-breaking votes that then determined and then led to inflation, exponential inflation inside the United States of America. She was tasked with the wall itself. But I'm just telling you the formal and the informal roles of the vice president of the United States of America, no matter who the vice president is.
No, I get that. But what's her biggest failure?
Her biggest failure is immigration.
Okay, so
in my opinion.
So now my question is, okay, so she's in a position of power where she can implement. Well, no, let me rephrase the question. Has she always been in a position of power to implement the policies that she is now saying she's rolling out? Did she always have the power to kind of delegate those policies as a sitting vice president?
What policies? Be specific.
The policies that she just rolled out specifically, like for Black men. She has all of these different incentives that she just presented to everyone. Giving Black men loans, helping them with housing.
These could have been
was
proposed.
she able to actually
These could have been proposed while they were in office, the same way they proposed any other legislation while they was in office.
Right. And so that's why
when they pushed through the infrastructure deal, when they tried to push through the border, the secure border deal or whatever the hell it was named, that was packaged with a bunch of bloatware in it. when they did the green, all of that shit where they was trying to put a bunch of chargers in and emissions regulations and all of this stuff. Absolutely, they did.
Okay. So listen, these policies that she's enforcing, if she didn't do it when she was VP, how do people know she's going to do it as president?
And that's my only question.
You just got to believe them.
I'm just trying to understand where in the Constitution does the vice president actually able to introduce legislation or make?
They don't, but I believe she has the record for the most time.
So are we saying when she was a senator?
Listen, everything that's proposed, even the president himself, he can't just pass things through without an emergent, unless he's taking emergency action over something. So when there's a declaration of war, for example, he has the absolute power to be able to make and determine what happens when it comes to protecting the United States of America, which could be far reaching. Otherwise, that's the reason why we have layers of government in order to prevent absolute power. That's why you have a Congress, right? That's why when they put together a budget, you have to go and you negotiate the budget, and they have to keep kicking it out and keep kicking it out, because you have people on this side that's saying that we don't agree with it. They don't have enough votes as a result of it, which then would send it up to the president's desk, which he can then veto it, or he can say, you know what, I agree with this budget. This is a bipartisan deal. This gives each side what they want, and we're going to sign it. So anybody could technically introduce concepts of a plan, which then leads to legislation that has to be negotiated in Congress and then signed by the president of the United States of America. But you can't tell me that she doesn't have influence on it, especially when she's the tie-breaking vote.
Does she have the same influence as VP as president?
No, nobody does.
Hey, quick question.
The president doesn't have the same type of influence as a Speaker of the House.
Quick question.
All of them have respective. All of them have power in their respective fields to determine what should and shouldn't happen. But at the same time, we don't hear anything from her, and the things that she was tasked with, they failed miserably.
Do y'all ever talk about the Congress people that you don't elect? Like, do we all understand that Congress? Do we know what
they do? But that is one of the reasons why.
Why is it always that Trump or Biden or Obama or?
It is one of the reasons why
Congress does and don't do.
It is one of the reasons why they kicked Biden out from running this race, because they felt like down ballot it would affect everybody else that was on that ballot, especially different Congress members, the judges, because when most people go to the polls, it is a proven fact that they either select one side or they select the other side. They either vote Democrat all the way down, or they select Republican and vote all the way down, because most people are uninformed voters. And then they have to go through and they vote on the different millages and things like that. But the point is that it's not just about that. And the reason why the national election is the most important is because it's the one that affects what happens on one side of the aisle or the other side of the aisle, all the way down to your local politics across the board.
Jamisha, again, an area where I had to literally unplug myself. Growing up,
I'm about to fucking run for office.
Growing up, my father was a campaign manager of a city councilman, a mayor. Like we handed out flyers. We were doing all of this stuff in politics and didn't really know. I didn't know he did what I was doing, and it was a part of the saying like, vote row B. So I was trained to just vote down the line. It wasn't until I started voting down here in North Carolina that I was like, wait, let me really pay attention to who is on each line. I really only focused on who was at the top of the ballot and would just go down. But that was my ignorance. That was my training. I had to break away from that. So now to your point, I had to learn who's in my county, my town, the like even down here in North Carolina, the layout of the
right.
Of the
you're in North Carolina. You're in North Carolina. So I'm probably assuming incorrectly, but based on you being on this platform and some of the things you say, I'm assuming you're voting for Mark Robinson.
I'm still trying to understand Mark Robinson. I like Cooper. Cooper jacked me up because he's not going to be running. So I had to get through researching all the presidents. So now I'm dealing with who's running here. Mark Robinson, I'm trying to understand him because some of the stuff that I've heard him say has been extreme for me.
I don't know why
It-
Jamisha
it-
couldn't explain that to.
Can you tell
a
me?
girl
Can you
there.
tell me
I'm
what
not looking.
area you are in? Are you close to like a major city?
Yeah, I'm in Wake County. So
Okay. You
I'm
right
in
up
Wake
the street
County.
from me.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on some real when it comes to North Carolina where I currently reside, definitely look up Josh Stein. That's a good friend of mine. He's running. He's the opposite of who's running. He is the Democratic Party nominee. But I'll say this, I never believe in down ballot. I don't believe that you have to vote your party. I believe that you should do your due diligence on all the candidates on all levels in every part of the election school board and make the right choice. I've voted in Republicans. I've helped Republicans get
No,
in
that's not
to
fair,
different
Jamisha.
positions.
That's
Yes,
not
it
fair,
is
Jamisha.
fair because
It's not fair.
you know who I am.
It's not.
Anyway,
It's not fair, Jamisha.
anyways, as I was saying,
It's
so
not fair.
anybody
It's
that
not
is
fair.
watching,
Because
please
you can't
do your
then
due
give us
diligence.
your opinion on how people are supposed to vote when you wasn't even going to explain to us what the basic principles and how the vice president was
You can't
supposed to
elect
work.
me to be the person to explain Civics 101. And again, it's not a disrespect to Jazz. But I'm not about to sit up here and explain stuff because if we have these conversations about politics, I'm under the assumption, and guess I must be slow, is that when I'm sitting up here, I'm assuming that we all understand what we can do.
No, you can't assume.
I
She explained that she was humbling coming to us asking for insight so she can get better understanding. So you don't have to assume she already communicated.
Right. So why would I be the one to have to answer that question? Because
you're supposed to be the one that's the most
that
well
doesn't
versed.
mean I have to educate everybody.
Somebody
And that
asks,
does not
if
assume that
somebody
I don't
asks
know
me an
anything.
economic question and they say, Anton, you know what I'm saying? I just need this insight or whatever, because there are no dumb questions. That's the honest to God truth.
I agree.
If somebody asks me a question and I'm the best suited to answer it, I can't say, well, you know what? I expected everybody to take algebra 101 up here. That shit ain't fair.
What would make you assume that I'm the best one for the answer?
Because you're the alderman.
What does that mean?
That means that you're the one that's the most involved in politics.
That doesn't mean
that's your job.
No. Well, let me be clear. I honestly was, when I read what the topics were tonight, I honestly had that question for you specifically because you are very knowledgeable about the Democratic Party, who does what, etc. And I am one of those people that are like, well, if she could have done it before, why should we trust that she's going to do it now? And so I thought maybe because you had a very clear understanding of that you can break that down to me, because I didn't know. I'm like, well, maybe she didn't have the kind of power to do so, but we've all just
aldermen think they better than the rest of us.
Democratic Party.
Aldermen think that they better than the rest of us.
No, I don't think it's that.
Jazz was trying to throw you the alley hoops, so you.
But I also on low key, Jazz, I thought it was a setup too, because I don't trust I don't trust nobody on this panel but Q.
I feel you, but I was not trying to set you up
for real, because
I don't need to do that.
Like
somebody setting you up by asking you what are the powers of the vice president.
And I understand why you feel that way,
because
I know she.
I'll tell you everything you need to know, not with clowns around.
I got you.
You know what I mean? Like,
I have nothing to gain from setting anybody up.
You know what? Honestly, you know what?
I didn't know either.
No. You want to know the truth? Y'all want to see? Now I got to.
It was really no shade.
I was just like, got to be the person to be to tell the uncomfortable truth.
No,
I don't believe that she really knew.
Oh, that's so sad.
What we believe and what we know.
No, I don't think that she. I think that she was.
Jamisa,
I think that she was scared of being wrong.
No,
and I don't think that she knew.
You found me on a platform where all I did was talk about politics.
I don't give
a fuck.
Google.
Listen. I don't believe even a little bit that you knew all of the. I think that you knew some, but I don't think that you knew how to communicate it effectively. And that's why you opted out. Listen, anybody
opted out for the main reason of I'm
not.
Not
she was being set up
on here. And two, I didn't know if it was a setup to try and prove
Setup
something.
of
But
what?
at the end of the
Hell
day,
no.
I know about
Setup of
politics.
what?
I don't have to prove that.
But I'm gonna
Setup
say
of what?
this though. I'm gonna say this. Jamisha already explained that in another panel we was on.
Thank you, Queen.
Jasmine wasn't
Listen.
here.
I don't.
Jasmine
Listen.
wasn't
I
here.
don't believe
I
That's
got
why I
good
said it's
memory
nothing
now.
against you, Jasmine. You a
when
beautiful.
it comes to
Jasmine
Q
was
on
here.
these Monday
You're
night
beautiful as
panels,
well. It's no shame.
in order to support her friends, I don't believe Q either
That's
Oh my
fine.
goodness.
You didn't
at
do
all.
Listen.
I have no reason.
It is no. Listen, it is no setup question that can come along with. Can you explain what the roles of the vice president of the United States? That is not a
On this
setup at
panel,
all.
Absolutely. You seek
How?
out people
What
that
could have
support
possibly went
Democratic
wrong?
Party
What could
because
have possibly
you like
went
trying
wrong?
to get people caught up for clickbait. Come on.
What could? It wasn't even my question.
I just told you that I
What
thought
could
it was a
possibly be
setup.
the setup
We've
question
been
that
up
comes
here
up?
before. I don't
Give-
know
Give me no.
purpose or not.
Give me any scenario where that could be a setup question.
I literally just told you.
Jamaica.
Did you hear me?
This
Go
is
ahead,
her
I'm
first time
listening.
on the panel with
Your
Jasmine.
platform is a setup for anybody that comes in here and talks about anything other than your
I don't
God.
believe that you
Trump.
all the way knew. I just honestly don't.
Who
I
is
Mr.
think
it?
that
Alderman,
any-
Mr. Woman, Mr. Alderman, I got a question. Who's
She
the
never know you.
look. Who's a better
If it's
man?
a question about politics, I'm not
Look
going
up.
to answer
Who's
it.
the better man to you? Bill Clinton or Donald Trump?
Who's the better
Who's a
man?
better man? Who's a better man to you? Bill Clinton or
Neither
Donald
one.
Trump?
Neither one.
Oh, okay. All right.
And Jazz,
Back on
Jamisa, you ain't hear that shade Jazz threw at the Jazz said no shade. She was talking about the melanin you lacking. You got to
No,
check her.
I'm not mad about that.
She did not mean that. Don't listen to
Like,
that.
none of that stuff that be all the extra stuff in the comments. I laugh at this because I know who I am as a woman, and nothing
Wait, what you mean?
today,
You
last week, or anything is gonna
Are you
affect
saying
me.
Jazz is a joke?
Are you mixed?
What you
Alderman? Are you
Yes,
mixed?
I'm
Alderman?
mixed. Rest in peace, my mother's white.
Listen,
My
Hold
daughter's
on,
black.
I don't care.
Anton.
Go ahead.
It makes
Come on,
perfect. It makes
come on.
perfect
Let's
sense
get
now. It makes perfect sense now.
Wait, I'm white too. What does that mean?
It makes perfect sense.
I
Oh,
don't
no,
care
that's
what. No, I don't care what the setup is. If you ask me a question,
Oh, here
I'm
we
gonna
go.
substantiate my argument. Listen, you can't catch me up on the truth. It just is what it is. So I ain't never gonna be afraid to say what I think.
Jazz,
It's okay. She
Again,
doesn't
there's
trust.
nothing that you can say make me feel
Don't
any type of
like
way.
that.
I know what I know,
Well,
and I know
it don't matter. Oh, I listen.
easily
If you
see-
catch somebody capping, right? They're never going to willingly admit that they was capping. So of course they always gonna say it ain't gonna matter to me. Like that's a normal response. Like if you catch somebody up or you make somebody look crazy or they didn't know something, it's not like they're ever gonna come back and say, you know what, I really didn't know about it. They're gonna die with the lie. It just is what it is. So we can just rock out.
But I'm gonna say this to Jasmine's point. I agree. Like I don't know. So her questions is what I've been having in my head. Like, okay, if she's been VP and some of the stuff hasn't changed, right? Or the same thing she's professing when she was VP is she's professing now. Now, is she gonna make a big impact? Like, because if she didn't,
this is my point. When we start getting into intelligent conversation, motherfuckers ain't got shit to say. Women hold on. Women want to opt out. They ain't never got their guard up when we talking about dick and pussy.
But
when we talking about relationships and dick and pussy, ain't nobody scared. They jumping in. I gotta mute motherfuckers in order to get them to stop talking. When we start asking intelligent questions, then people want to act like they reserved and oh man, you must be setting me up.
Well, no.
This whole time, don't.
It's okay. No,
So
it's
you
okay
was
because I
addressing
understand
me?
where she
You
comes
was
from.
addressing the panel.
Don't do it, Jamisha. Don't fall for it.
But I do have one more question though. Can you answer this, Jamisha? What has Kamala shown you during her term as vice president that gives you confidence enough to give you her vote as a president? Is that a stupid question?
No, that's a good question.
It's the soundtrack of in the background. At the end of the day, I think again, since we know what the president and the vice president can do, I look at the 20 years of experience that she has, what she's fought for her individual state that she represented, and now she's a VP, which limited opportunities to do things. When she gets in office, I think that she has the support of people that are in Congress that are supporting her platform. And again, the platform, it's been said many times up here, just different things that I can relate to, other people relate to. I believe that she's going to get a lot of that passed in Congress. I think that we are going to see a shift in politics with her being elected, especially because you're seeing Republicans wanting to vote for her in droves, and there's a difference between Republicans and Trump supporters. And I think that she's going to do a great job at leading this country and bringing us back to some peace. And
But what has she shown that, like, when she was VP, and I'm not even specifically talking about
she's done over what 50 tie votes. The things that she voted on has been a benefit to people in this country.
Okay, so hold on. Let's be more
There we
specific.
go. What did she try to vote on? Oh
No,
my God.
that's not what I'm about to ask you. One of the things that you said that she was going to be bring peace. So are you saying that she's going to end the wars?
I'm saying peace amongst us as people, how we go back and forth in the Democratic and Republican Party.
Fuck, we ain't beefing.
So she's not. So wait. What impact do you think that she's going to make when it comes?
I literally just explained it.
I'm sorry, I didn't finish my question.
Well, you're not talking to me. You're talking to the crowd.
I didn't finish my question.
Lock up.
I didn't finish my question.
I lock her up. What the heck? Where you get that from? 2K?
I didn't finish my
I
question.
used to be a police officer.
I don't know. I guess I just wanted to hear, like, when she was, while she was VP, she did and duh.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me feel like if I give her my vote as president, I'm giving her the right vote. You know what I mean? Like, I guess I just wanted like specific details on how her.
That's what I was about to ask. Was she
positively, like, how does she contribute to the progress of this country as a sitting VP?
Also, when did women want to start being led by women?
Listen,
honestly speaking though, Jazz, I will say this just from somebody who had to go down her own rabbit hole. In regards to that, I think your best bet is figure out the questions you have for real and try to get to as unbiased of a source of just what has happened in the past as possible and make your own assessment, because depending on who you ask, you have a high probability of it being
swayed.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we ask for insight, when we ask from the experts, they don't even want to participate.
No, she said a whole thing.
The best.
No, I wanted to ask a specific question, and she said, "You're not talking to me."